into the Horrorcraft podcast.
Hello, horror fans. It's me, Kylie, and this is Horrorcraft Reviews. Today we are talking about a brand new Shudder original, Nightborn. This will be a mild spoiler review. The film arrives on Shudder on July 31st, so if you'd rather go in completely blind, now is your chance to kind of skip this review and come back after you watched it. But Nightborn is directed by Hannah Bergholm, the director of Hatching, and it stars Sadie Harla as Saga and Rupert Grint as her husband Jon. Rupert Grint is, of course, best known for playing Ron Weasley in the Harry Potter films, but let's get into it. Now, the synopsis, or what the movie's about, is with dreams of starting the perfect family, Saga and her British husband Jon moved to the isolated house where she spent much of her childhood, deep in the Finnish forest. But after their baby is born, despite everyone's reassurance, Saga knows something is terribly wrong with her son. As their marriage begins to crack, Jon struggles to support his wife, but only Saga suspects the horrifying truth about her newborn son. The movie starts with Saga and Jon moving into this fixer-upper in the middle of the Finnish forest, and I have to say, the scenery is absolutely gorgeous. The forest almost feels alive with these massive human-like trees that create such an eerie but beautiful atmosphere. Now, Saga gives birth to a baby boy after it's a difficult labor. Thankfully, the baby is healthy, or so everyone is telling her and thinks. But the first thing she kind of notices, and I notice, is just how incredibly hairy he is. And that actually reminded me of when my youngest son, Raiden, was born. He was covered in hair too. Like, he still just has a couple hairs that are still extremely long, and it's just funny. So I really kind of like laughed at that moment. Now, when they bring the baby home, I just have to mention also like how beautiful the nursery is. It looks amazing. It's gorgeous. It's aesthetically appeasing. Like, this is something you would see out of a magazine. And one thing I really appreciated about this movie is how honest it portrays those first few days after bringing a newborn home. It's overwhelming. You're exhausted. Your hormones are all over the place. Your body is changing. You're leaking breast milk every time the baby cries. Your stomach is slowly shrinking back down, or just kind of like you feel like a deflated balloon. And you don't exactly feel beautiful, even though you just went through something incredibly beautiful, which was bringing your child into the world. But it just captures those raw emotions really well, and I don't think we see that represented enough in just horror. Something else I noticed is that they avoid showing the baby's face early on, which immediately made me think that they were building towards something. I don't know. Then the family, they come over to meet the baby. Saga is desperately trying to look put together, but her dress doesn't fit, and you can just feel the pressure she's under to look beautiful, be the perfect hostess, and just have everything under control and just be a happy, beautiful new family. Then things get really weird. Her mother picks up the baby and he rips her hoop earring right through her ear, like out. And instead of making a huge scene, she quietly just goes into the bathroom and sews her ear back together. Like, that's great, resourceful, but I would be flipping my shit. It was such an unexpected moment, but later, during the baby's welcome home celebration, he's screaming nonstop until the wind suddenly blows through the trees and he instantly calms down. And Saga turns toward the forest and announces his name is Kira. And shortly afterwards, she notices the sunlight is burning his skin and she rushes him back inside. And that's when she really begins realizing there's just something not right. At night, Kira is standing up and sitting up on his own, and he is literally a newborn baby. Newborn babies do not do this. They do not. But everyone keeps kind of dismissing her concerns. They tell her she's exhausted. overwhelmed. She just needs rest. She's a first time mom. And as moms, though, we know when something feels wrong with our babies, even if we can't explain it. That instinct is very, very real. That intuition is, and you must always listen to it. And breastfeeding becomes horrifying because Kura is literally biting chunks out of her nipples. She tries switching to baby food, but he refuses to eat it. Later, while she's pumping milk into a glass bottle, she accidentally drops it and it shatters and she cuts her hand and the blood begins dripping onto the floor. Kura immediately, Kura immediately becomes fascinated by the blood and starts licking it. So she takes him to the doctor, who insists everything is fine and he's probably just hungry. The doctor also checks on Saga's mental health, explaining that babies can sense when their mothers are struggling. While she is, she's dealing with the emotional and physical challenges of postpartum recovery, I never felt like this movie was simply saying that she just had postpartum depression, even though everyone else kind of around her was hinting at that. But it felt much more just complicated than that. I also have to give Jon some credit, her husband. He's genuinely trying to support her, and unfortunately, we don't always see that portrayed in movies or even in real life. He wants to help, he loves both of them. Rupert Grint really surprised me in this role and gives one of just a very strong dramatic performance, and I really enjoyed it. But the problem isn't Saga. Something is really wrong with the baby. And then Jon's parents arrive to bless the baby. His mother mentions an old local legend that immediately caught my attention. She says if a baby isn't properly blessed, trolls will steal them, and that some families still carry troll blood. And that line made my ears kind of just perk up, and I'm just, I'm looking. And not long after, Saga's own mother calls and tells her she was a terrible child growing up. And listen, Saga's mom is she's very cold. She tries to be kind of a concerning mother and like relating to her in certain ways of just how Saga was as a child, but she's not really all that great support, which I think is very can be found often in certain mother-daughter relationships and when the daughter has a child, honestly. Now, one night, Saga wakes up outside and realizes Kura is gone. She eventually finds him eating a dead animal. Yeah. Meanwhile, Jon discovers a large medical bag filled with blood. Saga isn't feeding him milk anymore. She's feeding him blood. Yeah. When Jon tries taking it away from her, they get into a scuffle and the bag rips open and blood explodes everywhere. And I'm not going to lie, that scene was pretty awesome and it kind of just made me laugh a little. Now, later, Saga goes into town to spend time with friends, leaving Jon alone with the baby. And of course, everything seems perfectly fine while Dad is watching him. Jon's just trying to help and give her some time and to go have fun and just, be a dad and take care of his son. And I swear that's just, the baby's being fine while Dad's watching him, not like how he is with Mom. And I swear that is literally how it always goes. My kids behave better a lot of times when Dad has them than when I do. It's kind of audacious. I don't know. Then the baby casually bites the cousin's finger off. Now, as the movie progresses, Saga begins accepting Kura for who he is. She becomes more loving and protective, while Jon desperately just wants a normal life for their family, and he does not like what she's doing. Their disagreements over how to raise him become more and more intense until Jon threatens to leave Saga and take Kura with him. I actually thought this was one of the strongest parts of the film. It shows two parents trying to navigate raising a child when they're facing something neither of them understands, and there's just like a super struggle and just butting heads. And it's a very real struggle that isn't talked about enough as like first time parents. Now, once Jon makes that threat, Saga goes into full mama bear mode, y'all. Like, no, you're not taking my kid. And what happens after that is absolutely wild. And I'm not going to spoil it because I think it's something you should experience for yourself. Like, I really enjoyed Nightborn. This is probably going to be maybe what in my at least top 20 of my favorite movies of 2026. The cinematography is stunning. The performances are fantastic. The creature mythology is fascinating. I loved how the film explored motherhood, postpartum recovery, maternal instincts, and unconditional love through the lens of horror because being pregnant and giving birth and postpartum can be horrific. I'm giving Nightborn a 9 out of 10. I am. It premieres on Shudder on July 31st. And if you're a fan of just kind of like slow burn folk horror, body horror, or dark fairy tales, I definitely recommend checking this one out. But that's been another round of Horrorcraft Reviews. Stay weird and stay spooky. Bye!